Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. My name is Yangmingting Fang, and I'm really excited to share with you my research titled Approaching Solo Repertoire in Group Piano Lesson. This presentation explores the creative approaches of solo repertoire and provides teachers some ideas of incorporating selected solo works in group piano lessons. Although there are already many pieces written for group piano, it is always helpful for teachers to have more choices of repertoire to motivate the students and bring more diversities to the classroom. For my presentation today, I selected two pieces composed by Asian composers to demonstrate my lesson plans, which includes Hide and Seek from the suite Happy Holidays by Chinese composer Mr. Shan Deding, and A Green Caterpillar and a Butterfly from the collection of Japanese Festival by Japanese composer Yoshino Nakata. I will refer to the characteristics of these pieces and turn them into collaborative works or group activities accordingly, such as having multiple students perform one piece together with different parts or roles assigned to each student, or incorporating objects or props to bring a unique sound and color to the classroom. So this presentation will be divided into three parts. In part one, I will give brief introduction about group piano teaching, such as the background and benefits of group lessons. For part two, I will talk about suggestions of selecting appropriate group repertoire and introduce the sample pieces I find effective in group teaching. And then in part three, I will present some possible lesson plans for ensemble playing or activities for each piece to offer a general idea of how we can turn a solo piece into a collaborative work. In general, the United States could be understood as one of the pioneers in promoting group piano classes, which first gained popularity in the early 20th century in public schools and then gradually evolved into digital piano labs throughout the century. However, group piano teaching actually existed in Europe even before that, which was around the late 19th century. Franz Liszt was one of the most reputable pedagogues in advocating group piano teaching through masterclass, which was also known as one of the early forms of group teaching. And his pupil, the American concert pianist Amy Fay, was an important person who served as the connection between Europe and the United States and helped promote group teaching in the United States. When she was traveling to Europe to study with Liszt, she primarily received instruction through such groups. She found that learning in group very fascinating and wrote about this experience later in her music study in Germany. According to Dr. Pamela Pike, Amy Fay offered insight into a student's persistence, anxiety, personal practice, preparation, and learning outcomes. Her thorough and engaging commentary on her experience proved that as long as the students are well prepared and willing to engage in group learning, such learning environment would be especially beneficial. In 20th century, some significant figures in the United States included Robert Pace, who was mostly known for his group piano experience for children, and Raymond Burroughs, who laid the foundation for teaching adults at collegiate level in piano labs. Other important pioneers included Guy Duckworth, Louis Goss, and Francis Clark, and their significant writings included Keyboard Companion, Piano and Keyboard, and the Keyboard Arts. As group learning began to receive increasing recognition over the past years, there are now a wide variety of forms of group lessons. In addition to masterclass, it is also common to teach highly structured and well-planned piano classes in digital piano labs on most college or university campuses, as well as in independent piano studios, arts academies, and the K-12 schools. There are also other types of group instruction, such as summer or holiday group camps, and the regular group classes as adjunct to the private lessons. There are numerous concepts and subjects being involved in group piano lesson, and in my opinion, collaborative works such as ensemble repertoire and the group activities are among the most effective ones that help develop the students' skills both socially and musically. For instance, the student will develop their social skills through their verbal and musical communication during the group work process. More importantly, working in group enables the student to be motivated by peers, listen more carefully, and learn from one another, which will foster a healthy learning environment. In terms of repertoire selection, the strategies are similar to how we select solo repertoire, and it is important to choose pieces that are interesting to both students and the teachers. That way, the students will be motivated to engage themselves in the learning process, and the teachers will also be able to seek more inspirations and create more possibilities with the instructional process. And this is especially crucial when we want to turn these pieces into ensemble works and group activities. Technically, the teachers can incorporate any piece in group event as long as they want. However, I think there are three main questions that we need to ask when deciding the repertoire in order to create more engaging and effective lessons. First, do I find the piece appealing myself that I want to share with my students? Second, is the piece easy to relate to? Does it evoke a clear and straightforward mood or idea? And the third, will the student acquire a better understanding of this piece after working in group? Following along with these three questions, in this part, I will introduce two sets of teaching pieces, Happy Holiday and the Japanese Festival, which not only are well-written solo pedagogical works, more importantly, they will also work effectively in group setting. The first collection is Happy Holiday by Mr. Shan Deding, who was a reputable Chinese pianist, composer, and educator. Since Ding was very young, he demonstrated interest in folk music, and he taught himself to play various Chinese folk instruments such as bamboo flute, pipa, and erhu. In 1928, he was admitted to Shanghai National Conservatory to study pipa. Then, a year later, he switched his major to piano. At that time, piano just began to gain popularity in China, and Ding was one of the first few Chinese pianists, as well as the first Chinese pianist who recorded a piano album. In 1942, he began his formal study of composition, and his piano work Spring Suite was the first Chinese piano suite. In 1947, he traveled to France and studied composition and counterpoint at Paris Conservatory, and he had also sat in Messiaen's class during his time there. And then in 1949, Mr. Ding came back to China and worked at the Shanghai Conservatory of Music as a composition professor. As a prolific composer, Ding was also well known for his orchestral works and the chamber music, choral works, art songs, concertos, as well as film music. As an educator, he was the teacher of numerous significant musicians in China. The first piece, Hide and Seek, comes from the collection Happy Holiday. It was composed in 1953, which was after his formal study of composition at Paris Conservatory, as well as around 4 years of serving as a composition professor. This suite consists of 5 pieces, and the inspirations came from the games and the daily lives of children. Each piece comes with a descriptive title to portray the scenes of children playing, and the theme addresses the various pedagogical aspects in each of them. It was published by People's Music Publishing House, but this set is not published in the US. There are only a few of the pieces would be available to obtain through electronic copy, and their names may vary depends on the translation. However, if you are interested, I do believe that the PDF score is purchasable through Chinese website or some Chinese stores. They will be willing to ship the physical copies internationally, and I'd love to help if you need. The other set of pedagogical pieces I want to discuss is written by Japanese composer Yoshino Nakata, titled Japanese Festival. Nakata was born to a musical family in 1923. His father, Akira Nakata, was an organist and a composer, and he grew up with both piano and organ available in his household. As one of the most important composers in 20th century Japan, Nakata is well known for his choral works, art songs, and compositions for piano. What distinguished him from other composers was that he also wrote songs for children besides his classical works. Therefore, he also received significant recognition from general public who has no musical background. Although the majority of Nakata's compositions are vocal works, his contribution to piano and piano pedagogy is especially significant because his primary instrument was piano. Overall, Nakata's early piano training was highly influenced by German tradition, and his early piano study established the tone of his own piano compositions. For instance, the classical musical language that he learned through Bayer method and sonatinas, as well as the expressiveness and the programmatic nature that he got from character pieces from the Burgmüller etudes. At the age of 11, he further developed his passion in piano and was especially interested in Chopin's music. In 1940, Nakata was accepted by Tokyo National University for Fine Arts and Music as a piano major. Among his piano compositions, this set Japanese Festival is the most prominent one, and the next piece, A Green Caterpillar and a Butterfly, is from this set. The collection was first published in 1956, entitled Collection of Piano Pieces for Children. Although the pedagogical materials from Europe typically dominated piano curriculum in Japan at that time, however, this set by Nakata was soon widely incorporated in piano teaching and considered as standard supplemental repertoire for piano study. In 1975, this was published in the United States and titled Japanese Festival. It was published by MCA, but British Columbia Conservatory of Music has the most updated version. The difficulty level of this collection ranges from elementary through early intermediate level. These pieces are all delightful and inspirational. Most of them come with descriptive titles, and they demonstrate various styles and sounds, which will be easy for students to relate to and offer opportunities for the students to be exposed to new sounds and different styles. Moreover, the pieces in this collection are all very effective, and they sound harder than they actually are. That way, adult students will also enjoy performing them. Overall, there are several reasons that I could see the potential of these pieces working very well in group lesson. First, they sound interesting and delightful, technically not too challenging, but very effective to listen to and work well even for adult students. Second, they are easy to relate to because the moods and atmosphere of them are very clear. Most of them have descriptive titles, and for the pieces by Mr. Shan Deding, The composer himself was inspired by games. Thus, through working in groups, the student will be exposed to different sound of these pieces, which will encourage them to be more sensitive with the musical ideas, hear the layers of the piece, as well as understand and appreciate the piece from a different perspective, which will also help them tremendously when they play the solo version on their own. And now I'm going to demonstrate the two pieces I selected for from these two collections and present some possible lesson plans of approaching these pieces in group setting. The first piece I'm going to look at is Hide and Seek. Mr. Ding Shande composed this one in homophonic texture, gave it an enjoyable tune. In the middle section, he also shifted the atmosphere with a lyrical and a legato melody. Overall, the rhythmic pattern mostly included eighths and the quarters, and I would suggest it as about level 4 or 5 piece, kind of in between, because what I found as a possible challenge here is that the frequent tempo changes going to accelerando and then back to a tempo, which will require the student to be very sensitive in order to create a smooth and the natural transition between each section and phrase. I will play the beginning and the middle section for you to get a general feeling of this piece. Now I'm going to play a little bit of the middle section for you. So one of the biggest reasons that I want to approach this piece in a group setting is because of its conversational feature. From the very beginning, this piece just feels very syllabic to me that I would want to encourage my students to come up with lines or lyrics of each phrase, which at the same time will encourage them to communicate with their peers in musical language. Based on the score, I think I want to get two students involved in, one as hider and one as seeker. So from the beginning, I would interpret the first four measures as the seeker staying still with eyes closed, waiting for the hider to get ready. And then the following four measures with accelerando will be the hider who is trying to run away and looking for a perfect spot to hide. This also works for the middle section, with the most part being seeker trying to find where the hider is, and the accelerando is the hider running away. Or we can surely interpret the whole lyrical section being the seeker solo, and the accelerando can be understood as he or she confidently running to the place that the hider might be at. So what I like to do is that first I talk through the piece with the students by giving them a little introduction and play the piece for them. And if the students' sight reading skills are not advanced enough, I will definitely provide the score to them in advance. Then, after I talk through and play through for them to get a better idea of the feeling, I will give them several minutes to come up with the lines for the two characters in this piece based on the given scene. Also, the singing volume of the line should be in correspondence with dynamic marking. Ideally, I would want to have the students sing them out, but as I myself is very bad at singing and am not a fan of that, I would also feel bad to make my students do something that I'm always trying to avoid. Therefore, for those who don't like singing, they could totally speak out the lines while they play. Or if talking and playing at the same time might confuse the specific students, no problem. We also got a plan C, which is to have two more students serving as singers or narrators to sing out or speak out the lines they have come up with. The least best thing I would want to see is that the students not feeling comfortable or enjoyable with the activities I make them do. Therefore, as long as that I can help stimulate their imaginations and guide my students to see it from a different perspective, I will be satisfied enough with it. Here, I'm going to show you with some lyrics or spoken lines I have come up with and play that beginning for you. You may try singing or speaking along with it to get an idea of how it feels. Yeah, so basically nothing complicated at all. Just come up with some catchy words that closely related to the piece. And actually for the spoken or singing line parts, the simpler, the better. In the end, what we want our students put the most concentration on is still the playing part and the lyrics or spoken line, mainly used to add some flavor to the playing and encourage the students to become a more imaginative performer and active listener. The next piece is a green caterpillar and a butterfly from the set of Japanese festival. For this piece, I think the level will be about 4-ish. It is slow and the hands are mostly doing parallel motion. And the last 8 measures basically repeats the idea of the opening with the little changes at the end. This one-page long piece also comes with a contrasting middle section to bring a new sound. The possible trickier part of this piece is the middle section too, which we can find all type of new ideas, such as texture change, articulation change, tempo change, and a key change. This piece is actually one of my favorite one in this collection. It's very short, 1 page long, but very cute and fun to listen to. I'm going to play it for you now. For this one, I would want to encourage the student to make it work as film music. And I was actually inspired by this video called Life Cycle of a Butterfly from the channel called It's Awesome Time. This video talks about how caterpillar become a butterfly, that it's born and it keeps eating until one day the caterpillar is growing up to a big enough size. It will stop eating and turn itself into a pupa, and the butterfly will emerge out from the pupa after 15 days. Therefore, how I want to handle this piece is that I first tell the story to my students and then put two students in a group, both as script writer and the performer. I will have them associate either the habits or each stage of the caterpillar to the music, write their lines down for each phrase or section, then explain their story first and play it through. We could have both of the students work on the scripts together and assign different sections to them. To make it more fun, the teacher could help them find pictures online and make PowerPoint slides to make the to match the subject of the film music. Or if the students love drawing, they are encouraged to draw each plot out with the lines included in each picture they draw. I also wrote a story here to demonstrate my plan, and these pictures are all from the video life cycle of a butterfly. Now I'm going to play it again with the assistance of my scripts and pictures, and here I present my story, The Dream of a Caterpillar. Yeah, that was my story. And for this activity, of course, there is no right answer. Just encourage the student to be creative and enjoy the process. Overall, my idea of putting up this presentation is to encourage the teacher to take advantage of the interesting solo repertoire and make the most use of them in group lesson, which we might also utilize the opportunity of group lesson to help reinforce the students' understanding of the solo pieces they are currently working on or planning to work on. Through working in groups, the student will be able to understand and appreciate the piece from a different perspective, which will also help them tremendously when they play the solo version on their own. And at the same time, when we as teachers are turning the solo pieces into group works, we are also discovering new ideas and the possibilities that make our teaching more effectively. Thank you.